I thought this is what I wanted. I moved my family 8 times in 14 years, kept chasing the brass ring in corporate America and got the brass ring, multi six-figure salary and stock options and all the benefit. It didn't matter. It didn't really matter because I wasn't fulfilling my purpose. I wasn't fulfilling, what I really was, I believe, put here to do. And that's to help inspire entrepreneurs, help lead entrepreneurs, build businesses. If you decide to become an entrepreneur and you decide, and you know this, Carl, if you decide to open your own business or businesses, never, ever, ever, ever give up.
Hello and welcome to Along the Way Life's Journey. I'm your host, Carl Buccellato. As I've told you many times, I've traveled millions of miles around this beautiful earth of ours. I've met all kinds of wonderful people. People who inspire other people. People who set gauges for themselves to create new lifestyles and new opportunities. And I have such a man here today. His name is Roger Martin. Roger spent 25 years in the corporate end of this world and decided he wanted to do more and be more. And so he became a serial entrepreneur, actually operating 2 separate franchises and a third business right now, very successfully. He's also an author of a brand new book. So, Roger, thank you for being on the show.
You betcha. My pleasure. I'll just share with the listeners, my background is I spent 25 years in corporate America. I started, and they were all in the pharmaceutical industry. And then 7 years ago, I decided to become an entrepreneur. And so for 25 years, and I was very fortunate, never unemployed a day in my life. I worked for 4 or 5 different companies, started as a sales rep, finished as a chief operating officer. But Carl, I had this epiphany. I was in Spain. I was in Barcelona, Spain at a conference. And I'm in my suit, in our booth, and I'm looking out over the, like 5,000 people at this trade exhibit. And I remember for just a millisecond having disdain for everyone in the room. And then I realized, well, no, it's not them. It's me. It's me. I'm not happy doing this. I thought this is what I wanted. I mean, I moved my family 8 times in 14 years, kept chasing the brass ring in corporate America and got the brass ring. But, a multi six-figure salary and stock options and all the benefit, it didn't matter. It didn't really matter because I wasn't fulfilling my purpose. I wasn't fulfilling, what I really was, I believe, put here to do. And that's to help inspire entrepreneurs, help lead entrepreneurs, build businesses that help and serve people. I have several businesses in the health and wellness sector, in fitness, in recovery, infrared sauna. And I just had to make this decision about 7 years ago. And within 4 months of that conference, I had created a succession plan. I had named my successor. I ended up exiting the company, always finishing impeccably. I would tell your listeners, always make sure that you finish impeccably. And
never burn your bridges.
Never. And on a Friday was my last day. On a Monday, I woke up, no salary, no health insurance, no, I was like, whoa. And I have to say, Carl, that Monday, anybody that's listening, that's thinking about starting their own business, that leaving corporate America, I will tell you that you'll be okay. Like, you'll be okay. Monday is going to be scary. It's going to be scary. And Tuesday was almost as scary. But by Wednesday, I just realized I'm never looking back. And, that was 7-8 years ago. So since then, I've co-founded 2 national franchises. One's called Rockbox Fitness. The other is called Beam Light Sauna. We have 60 locations open with one brand. We're on the way to 50 this year with another. It'll be 150 by the end of next year.
What type of business industry are they?
Yep. So Rockbox Fitness is a group fitness, boxing for fitness. So nobody gets punched in the mouth. It's we hit bags and pads, and then it's functional strength training. So our members are anywhere from 17 years old to 70. Like it's if you show up, we are going to meet you where you're at. The workout is to it's as hard as you make it, but it's all instructor led. So, so that people are always safe and have correct form, but you learn how to kickbox, and then you do some resistance training, to build lean muscle, which is so important too, as you age. You want to make sure that you're continuing to move and moving weight, to help your bones and whatnot.
Listen, you're talking to an old pug, so I know what you're talking about.
There you go. Love
it. When I was a teenager, I was a boxer, and a pretty good one too.
Love it.
I was a light heavyweight champion for New York regions for the Golden Gloves in 1957.
Oh my gosh.
So I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I took many a punches to the face, and I understand, but I don't want it anymore.
Nope. I used to train. I was training in mixed martial arts, very similar in my mid 40s, And I would go home and, I would just have the heck beat out of me. And my wife would say, what are you doing? I'm training, I'm competing. She's like, no, you're losing. You're losing. And I just realized I've kind of aged out of that. And so now we just do boxing, just boxing for fitness. And then the
Right.
other brand is an infrared sauna concept. So imagine going in, you have your own private room, an infrared sauna, which is a dry sauna at a lower temperature, but much more effective using technology and infrared light waves. And then you have your own private room with your own private sauna, an entertainment system to watch a show or listen to a podcast like this. And it really helps with detoxification, weight loss, pain relief. It boosts your
Must
immunity as
be
well. Yeah.
must be great for old bones. Yeah.
It's great. It's great for, I'm 53. It's great for 53. I'll tell you that. But, and
Yeah.
again, the age range of our customer base it varies from, 20 to 80 for Beam. And then I've got, a couple other companies as well. I own a brick and mortar. I own a Beam actually too. Not just the part of being part of the franchise. And so, I arrived here today on this podcast 8 years into my entrepreneurial journey with, a whole lot of scar tissue, but, and a lot of gray hair, but, wisdom for those lessons and
Well,
anything.
this is
Yeah.
important to
Yeah.
hear, and I want to say why. I don't want to interrupt you, but
No, please.
I have had a number of times. I've had people come on the show who the business gurus and the like this other guy I confused you with came out
Sure.
of academia, come out of academia, but they don't have any real practical experience about being an entrepreneur or a businessman or signing the front of a paycheck rather than just the back of a
Oh,
paycheck.
I'm going to steal that. I like that.
So you really are somebody who people can listen to because you've lived the life. You've walked it, you live it every day. You've created businesses to provide opportunities and business futures for young people to build their lives and their futures. And I admire that. I think that's wonderful. You're doing more than just talking. You're showing them examples that you've learned through real experience. So I'm going to shut up for a minute and let you talk.
No, I appreciate that. And it's funny. And we can talk about it later, but I published a book in January, and when I open up the kind of the intro, the preface to it, I say, I've read all of the academia books. I've read all of the books written by McKinsey consultants, and those are great, but it's not written by the people and by the person who's been on the front lines and is still on the front
Right.
lines, and you
Right.
said it, signing the front of a paycheck, like knowing you have to make payroll, knowing you have to make rent, knowing you have to pay for people's health insurance, and you want to give them a decent 401k match and all. And that, Carl, is not something I had a full appreciation for. I've hired thousands of people through my corporate career, but and led teams as large as 500. But when it's your own money coming out of your own checking account or savings account, and you build a business from nothing, like there was nothing that existed before, and you created this, and then you now employ, a couple dozen people in your home office. You employ, 600-700 people out in the franchises. They're not our employees, but that we helped create those jobs. And I see these young people that I lead and watch how much responsibility they're willing and wanting to take on and how fast they want to grow. And it just makes me realize, creating jobs and creating opportunities for people that's the best gift we can give back to the world.
Absolutely.
The money will come. You do what you love. You work really, really, really hard. The money will come, but the money is just money. Like it's your legacy. It's hopefully what people say, and hopefully they say nice things about you when you're not in the room. That's what I want to do. I want to have an impact where, when I'm long gone, somebody is still passing on, the words of wisdom, hopefully that I shared with them, that help them and help them grow their career or, make a better living.
So you came to a place in your life. You were a success by all guides, by all measures. You were well paid. You were highly positioned. You've decided because of a stress inside of you that you had to do more and create more, not only for yourself but for mankind, to do something influential. Something came out of a seed inside of you that must have begun long before that drove you to say, enough, I'm going to follow that dream.
Yeah.
What was that? What brought Roger to do those things?
So that's a great question. And I I mean, I've always loved persuasion and influence and higher level, not manipulation, but higher level persuasion and influence and helping people see, different sides of something and, here's their problem and here's the solution. And I can help bridge that gap. And even from a young kid, I think I enjoyed that. Like even my first jobs when I was 16, 17. But I'm not the kid that had 4 paper routes that had a lemonade stand that had 15 kids working for him selling bubble gum in the hallways. Like that wasn't me. And I've heard those stories and those are really cool. I wish I had done that. Mine was more, I mean, I'll tell you, I'll give you an example. When I was 16, I got a job at a pizza place and I was really good at upselling people into, well, if you're going to buy one pizza, why don't you buy another? We'll wrap it for you, take it home, put it in the freezer, and then just, cook it when you're ready to have the second one, but you save money. And then, do you want 2 large sodas to go with that? We've got a special and this isn't a pizza place. And the manager saw it and he's like, okay, new job for you, new role. You're they real fancy title. They called it a phone person. He probably could have come up with a better title than that. But so I was a phone person, which means all I did is I sat in this little side office and answered the phone from like 4 to 10 p.m. at night and took pizza orders. A pretty busy pizza place, independently owned pizza place, and sat there and upsold people into more toppings, a bigger pizza, 2 pizzas, get some sodas. Would you like some cinnamon sticks with that? And I was 16 years old, but having a ball. And what he did, Carl, this is where the seed was planted. I got, I want to say like 3% of all the sales. And so it didn't take, and back then minimum wage was like $3 an hour. So I was making $3 an hour plus this commission. And I could realize, man, I can almost double my pay to $6 an hour, which back then was a lot of money for a teenage kid. And I realized, wait a second. The harder I work, the more phones I answer, the faster I can get somebody to place an order, buy more, spend more, and then get on to the next customer. I make more money. Hey, wait a second. There's something here,
A lot of bells went off, didn't they?
A lot about exactly. Like I want to be paid for my performance. And I think that I've always I can tell you the company I started with right out of college, big Fortune 50 company, wonderful company, but really steeped in tenure and hey, I've been here for 20 years. You got to pay your dues,
Yeah.
And I was only there 2.5 years because I'm like, this doesn't culturally fit with me. Like, I want to be
Yeah.
paid for my performance. And so I just say to your listeners, like, if anybody's listening to this and saying, gosh, I can relate to that, I'm going to tell you, it's probably not going to change where you're at. And it may not even be that much different if you change companies. The grass usually is not greener. The grass is green where you water it, and you need to water your
Right.
own grass. You need to invest in yourself, and you need to
Right.
continue to learn. And that could be switching careers, switching jobs. That could be starting your own company. But I think too many people, Carl, they sit in this place of misery because it becomes comfortable. It's not fun, but it's comfortable. They wear it like an old shoe. It's comfortable.
Yeah, and it's silent desperation. They just
Ooh,
bear it out.
good words. Good words. Yeah. And so I am living proof. I was 46 years old when I became an entrepreneur. And you're right. I left like all of my friends. You are crazy. You are, did you have head trauma? Like, what are you doing? You're leaving this behind and you're taking a chance on it, on a gym franchise. Yeah, because that's where my heart was telling me to go. And I knew if I would have applied myself and I learned exponentially, by hiring consultants and experts and doing it myself and reading everything I get my hands on and taking online courses and all that to get to become an expert in franchising and fitness and membership, recurring revenue sales and all that. But I'm living proof that you can do it. Like, you can do it, and the grass is greener. It is better. It's stressful. So don't think, this whole thing of, I want to own my own business so I have freedom. Put that out of your head right now. No.
You're going to work much harder, much longer hours. You're going to pay people when you don't get paid.
Amen.
Until you get there.
Amen. You got it. So don't do it for freedom. But I also do love that, like, I don't have a boss. I have thousands of bosses for all the members we have across the nation and all my employees and all my franchisees. So I really have thousands of bosses. But as far as being your own boss, if you have the discipline to stay focused and to work your plan, it is an amazing feeling to know that you are in charge of your destiny. Yeah.
So, as an observer of life and people coming forward, and I imagine that you meet a lot of people who have a yielding and a yearning to be entrepreneurs and to grow bigger and better. But as an observation of what's happening in a country today. Would you say fundamentally that's true across the younger generation, or are we needing to give them more advice and a lot more direction?
Mm. So I manage a pretty young team. Most of my team are what we'd call Gen Z, in their 20s, and a couple in their 30s, and one guy's in his 50s. So I have like hands-on experience with this, and of course, I've been leading people for the last 25, 26 years. I will say that one, Gen Z gets a bad rap because every generation, I'm sure I'm Gen X. I'm sure the baby boomers were like, who are these punks? These kids don't know what they're doing. And that's just the way generations, we age up and the new generation comes up and they're always different and have different things. They have some idiosyncrasies around they want purpose in their work. I'm Gen X. We used to kind of just chase the dollar. That's the way we were raised, maximize shareholder value at all costs. And, Gen Z wants to know, like, okay, I'll do this, but why are we doing this? Like, what is the purpose of the company? And that's not wrong. That's not wrong. Now, I will tell you this, with social media and all this, I think that this young generation, and I have a 23-year-old and he's about to turn 21 actually. So 23 and a 21-year-old. And I will, I see them and I know they've been fed a bill of goods around, I'm going to start a business. It's going to be online. I can work 4 hours a week
Yeah,
from Greece and I'm going to have a
yeah.
Lamborghini and a jet. And that's just not true. It's just not true. So,
They buy all the hyperbole and the propaganda,
yep.
and it's a shame because they have so much potential.
Yep.
They really do. If they could only direct themselves, they'd revolutionize the world all over again.
Yeah. So my advice to them, and it's surely to anybody, but it's, you have to put in the work, you have to put in the time, and it's, what's the saying that money loves speed, wealth loves patience, and uh, uh, what is it? Poor loves indecision, or poverty loves indecision. And so you don't want to sit in a place of indecision. That's where, so I always advise people, just take appropriate action, meaning you may be not in a job you love, but what do that's your 9 to 5. What are you doing from 5 to 9? Are you taking online courses? Are you reading books that will inspire you? You listen to podcasts like this that can inform you, because too many people work their 9 to 5 and they go home and they watch Netflix for 5 hours and they go to sleep.
Yeah.
And then they wonder why nothing changes tomorrow.
All right. They suddenly wake up 10, 15 years later and they wonder what happened.
Yep.
I know from very young there are three kind of people in this world, and I'm sure you've heard this 100 times. People who watch things happen, people who make things happen, and people who wonder what happened. So you have to decide, who are you?
Yeah.
Are you going
Yeah.
to make things happen, or are you just going to wonder what happened to life?
Yeah. Yeah. So, and again, we can go down that whole road. There's certainly a victimhood mentality in our country, really in the world right now. And there's no room for that in being an entrepreneur. So anybody listening, thinking about taking, their career into their own hands, I champion you. And I really would welcome you into the fold and, help any way I can. But if you have any type of victim mindset where, well, this wasn't fair, or, I can't believe this happened to me, entrepreneurship will eat you alive because no one cares. No one's coming to save you.
And there's all the conversation about the economy. There's all the conversation about politics and world distress and all those things. But the thing that's always constant in this country is the evolution of business. People coming up with new ideas, creating new products, and generating new opportunities, new revenues. That's why this country has been so great.
Yep.
And when somebody comes up and says, well, you can't do it anymore because they have it all, or there's no room for the little guy any longer. Well, tell that to all the little guys who 20 years ago were in college and suddenly they're gazillionaires and billionaires because they took the effort and the stress and they went out and made it happen.
Yep. Yeah. That's what is, hey, is life fair? No. Could there be things better in our country, the way it's the way, wealth is allocated? Yeah. But is anybody entitled to anything? No. Like there's no entitlement. And that will, if you feel that sense of victim mentality or entitlement, the only person you're hurting is you. The only person you're hurting is you, because the wealthy and the industrious and the productive, they're still going to keep going. They're not going to wait for you. They're going to keep going, and the gap will get bigger. Yeah.
And I'm sure you have a similar example, but I know from personal example, I was a very poor kid. I went to school with holes in my shoes.
Yep.
There were times we didn't eat dinner at night. I know what it means to be hungry and poor, but I also know what it means to work hard, to strive, to build successful businesses, and to have God's blessing on me.
Yep.
I mean, I live the kind of life today that people would love to have, and
Yeah.
they can have it. All they have to do is go to work.
Yep.
All you have to do is work.
Yep.
And all you have to do for me, what was important every time I built quite a few very successful businesses, took them public. They did great, all of them. But one of the things that was always true to me, and I never forgot it, the greatest asset I had were my people.
Mm-hmm.
My people were my best asset. If I kept them happy and they worked as good as they could and they contributed what they could, they all had a share of the future and the profits.
Nice.
And that made me a very successful guy.
Yep.
I can tell you.
Yep. And I love that. I'm really big on equity participation by your key employees, your key stakeholders, because then you're all rowing in the same direction.
That's right.
Yeah.
Look, you ever see the rowers? They row the sculls. They got 8 of these guys. Imagine what would happen if they went all in different directions at different times. You'd get nowhere.
Yep.
Okay, I want to come to your book.
Sure.
And your book is An Insider's Guide to Business, and this is the secrets from
An
inside player.
Yeah, an entrepreneurial playbook. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell us about that book. That's an intriguing guide.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So, An Insider's Guide to Business, it's available on Amazon, Kindle, or the paperback. I published this we're doing this in mid 2024. I published it at the beginning of 2024. And just as you and I have been talking, I wanted to write a book that was not written from the academia standpoint. It wasn't written from the theory standpoint. I wanted to write a book, and did write a book. I'm very proud of this, that anybody could pick up, that is either trying to advance their career or they're trying to start, scale, staff, and grow a business. And whether it's, a brand new startup or, it's doing $10, $15 million a year, what is the playbook on how to do that? And literally chapter 1 is the first thing you should do when you're beginning out and you're starting your business or you're going on your own personal journey in a career. Chapter 2, we talk about finance, and not deep finance. Here are the 4 things you need to know if you're going to be controlling, as you said, signing the front of the checks. You don't have to be a CPA or, I have an MBA, but you don't need one. You just need to, watch these 4 things. And I go through that really in depth. Then I talk about stories around, the difference between marketing and branding. Branding's great if you're a $1 billion company. If you're a smaller company, you need to do direct response marketing so that you put an offer in the marketplace and then you're able to monetize that and get cash. And I talk through that again in really layman's terms. I had somebody, writing the book took me a little over 30 days. I spent a lot of time doing it, and it was me. There's no AI, no chat bots, nothing. It was me pecking out 46,000 words on my laptop. But what I'm really proud of is I did 7 full edits, which took me another 4 months, cover to cover, to continually simplify. Because as you know, a really complex book, may have all the answers in there, but if the average person can't pull the nuggets of wisdom out, right, it's not a well-written book. Right. And so I wanted to write a book that, a 22-year-old, a 19-year-old could pick up and relate to and understand, and the stories made sense, and then the principles were laid out in the story, and then we talk about that. And then the same thing for a 45-year-old executive or somebody that's 60 years old and says, you know what, I think I want to start a business now that I've got some, maybe I retired from my full-time job and I've got all this time and I've got some capital to do so. I wanted anybody to be able to relate to this. And so, 11 chapters of how to actually do it, not some theory, not some, the CEO is running a $5 billion company. Well, that's great, but most of us can't relate to that, right? Most of us are not going to be running a $5 billion company. So it's going to show people, and it has, and I've gotten many compliments on, man, it's just an easy read and it makes so much sense. And I'm going back to it when I'll have an issue. I'll go back to it. I talk about how to hire. I talk about how to fire and the right way to do that. There's an empathetic way to do that. And, I just wanted it to be, again, a playbook. It's Secrets from an Entrepreneur's Playbook, because I wanted it to be a playbook where somebody could actually go step by step on what you need to do to be successful. And hopefully, we talked about, have a legacy that helps people long beyond, the business that you start.
That certainly has a lot of value to a lot of people. And I hope your sales go right through the roof because people need this.
Well, I hope so too, and I'll tell you why. Because every single dime from this book, every single red cent from the day it was published till the day it goes out of print in a decade or whatever, every single penny is going to a charity called To Write Love in Her Arms, and it's a national charity. It's one of our charity partners for Rockbox Fitness, and it helps prevent self-harm and suicide. We all know that mental health is something that a lot of the society is struggling with, and when you get to that certain point, you need help. You just need somebody to help pull you out. And so every dime of proceeds from this book go directly to that charity.
Okay, folks. Now, I'm sure if you're like me, you're saying, well, where do I get this? How do I contact this guy? I want you to know all of his contact information is going to be in the show notes. You'll know where to reach him, how to reach him, where to buy the book, where to ask for help, how to ask about franchises if you want to buy a franchise. It's all going to be in there. So reach out, follow up with this. This is a very worthwhile course. Now, awesome. I interrupted you for the last time. Keep talking.
No, that's great. Thank you. So it's available on Amazon. Again, An Insider's Guide to Business, and all the proceeds go to charity. So, my goal now is I would love if I can help another entrepreneur, if I can help somebody that's just growing their career in a corporate position, because I've been there 25 years, and that person then can pay it forward and help another young professional or another person that needs the path cleared for them a little bit and to understand how to get there, then that's, to me, that's fulfilling. I kind of joke now, hopefully I'm wrong, but I kind of joke and say, I've got less runway in front of me than I do behind me now. And so
you got a long way to go. Boy.
Yeah, I hope so. I really hope so. And I just want to make the most of that, right? That runway that's in front of me, whatever that's happens to be left. I just want to make the most of that. And I think as a younger person, I'm proud of the leader I was, but as where I've arrived today, I'm a lot more selfless than I was maybe back then. I think I did a lot of things back then because they benefited me. And as you get older and wiser, and maybe a little more comfortable in your skin, I want to do things that are going to help others. And my expertise, I can't teach somebody about woodworking. I don't know anything about woodworking, but I know a lot about business. And if I can help somebody with that, then I'd be glad to.
That's wonderful. I'm 82 years old and I was in business for 60 years. And I had a tremendous number of successful businesses and I had a few failures. And along the way, I can tell you, I learned as much from the failures as I learned from the successes. One of the things I've learned is how to judge people. And I judge you to be a fine man. I think you have great intentions, great guys for the future, and a great desire to help other people aspire to be better people. And I love that. I think that's what this world needs. People reaching out to help each other. How do we change the world? One man reaching out to another.
I'm gonna call you every morning, Carl, and you just give me that pep talk every morning. Start my day.
Come on board. I love that because there's so much we can do.
Yeah.
At any age, there's so much we can do. When I retired at age 78 for the fourth and final time, when my wife said, "Enough already," I had this basket full of journals. I've been a journalist for 50 years, and they had so much in the journals. And she said, "A lot of good stuff in there. You should write a book. It'll help people." And I said, "Nah, who wants to read that?" So I listened. I wrote the book, and it became an Amazon bestseller.
Nice.
It's in its third printing right now.
Love it.
But the proceeds from that book pays for this show to bring people like you on to talk about what's possible and how anyone could pick themselves up by their bootstraps and make a better tomorrow for themselves. And in the same time, help others in the charity work. And I love that. I admire you and I respect you for it.
Thank you, sir.
We're coming down to the last couple of minutes. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to cut it down. I'm going to give you a few minutes to say anything you want, and then I'll do a close.
Okay, sure.
So it's...
you know what? I don't have a magic thing here to say, but what I will say is anybody that's listening, continue to invest in yourself. And what I mean that is education. And I don't mean formal education. I'm not against formal education, but I think self-education is the best education that we can get. And that's reading, listening to podcasts, watching, good, constructive YouTube videos, things that educate you and teach you. because you are your greatest asset. Like you walking around right now and I agree, our people, when we're an employer, are our greatest asset. But as an individual, you and your intellect and your skill set and the skill sets that you can build are the most important thing you can do. And then the second thing, and I'll just close with this, is if you decide to become an entrepreneur and you decide, and you know this, Carl, if you decide to open your own business or businesses, never, ever, ever, ever give up. Because at every turn, you may want to, because it can be hard. It can be harder than you expect. But I just gave this advice to my son who's chasing a music career, the dream out in Los Angeles. I said, son, just keep showing up. He's 20. Just keep showing up, keep making music, keep releasing songs. When you're 30, all these friends that are out here with you now, they're going to move back to Iowa, back to Kansas, back to Atlanta, because they're going to give up. And one day you're going to look around and you go, oh my God, I'm the only one standing. And then it'll happen for you when after you've paid all those dues and you put in the work. And so, just for those that are about to embark, or maybe somebody's listening right now that's having a really tough time in their business. I've been there. I've been there yesterday. I'll probably be there tomorrow. Just don't give up, because you'll be so incredibly proud of yourself 3 days from now, 5 days from now, 3 years from now that you didn't, because it's our human nature to be comfortable and safe. And so quitting gives us that comfort, but it doesn't give you the reward that you're really seeking and why you started your business in the first place.
Great advice. I'm an old bird, and one of my heroes in life was always Winston Churchill.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a mantra that I follow my life by. He told the British people when the Blitzkrieg was destroying London every night, he says, I have 5 words for success. If you follow these words, we shall certainly persevere. Never, 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 never quit.
Yep.
And I've lived my life with that.
Yep.
Never quit.
Yep.
So, young man, thank you for being on the show. I'm going to invite you right now to come back and do it again, because there's a whole bunch of questions I want to ask about, the immense possibilities in life that we didn't even get into. Imagine all those possibilities. So I do ask you in front of witnesses to come back another time. Okay?
Love it. Thank you. Thank you so much.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to remind you, you all have your own story. I know that. And no one can tell you a story like you can. Tell it to the people you know. Write it down. Give it to the people you love, your friends, your family. Pass it on. Because when it's too late, it's too late. And all that wisdom is gone. Share it with others. The world needs your wisdom. Pass it on. And I want to tell you this thing I say every week. I'm this big blustery guy from Brooklyn. What do I know? I know one thing that's true. For me, it's true. Get someone you know today, wrap them in a bear hug, and tell them you love them. Tell them you love them. It may be the only time they hear those words. And I'm quite sure God loves them too. So you know what I'm going to do right now, right? Roger, I love you, man.
Love you too, brother. Love you too, brother. Thanks.
Bye-bye.